So welcome everyone to the a couple minutes late September 16th meeting of the Elementary School Building Committee. I will go quickly through our agenda and then we will get started. Tonight on our agenda, we will have our opportunity for public comment. Then under new business, we will approve minutes, invoices, some changes that have occurred regarding the construction, have a discussion of other pending changes, and then get updates on construction, street improvements, and general MSBA update. We will try to finish up by 7 o'clock at the latest. So first up, we have our public comment. Is anyone here from the public who wishes to address the committee? Doesn't look like it. So, okay, as normal, we will entertain the opportunity to reopen public comment should anyone from the public arrive. Next up, we have the minutes from August 19th, 2025 that were included in your packet. Does anyone have any questions or comments on those minutes? Okay, hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the minutes of August 19th, 2025. Mike, you're on mute.
I move the minutes of August 19th, 2025 as written, sir.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike and a second by Jagroot. We are conducting this meeting virtually, so it will be a roll call vote, starting with Mike.
Yes, sir.
Jagroot.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
And Chris.
Yes.
And I am a yes. So those are adopted by a unanimous vote, 5-0. Next up, we have 3 invoices to pay this month. All 3 are our regular payments to our owner's project manager, our design firm, and our construction firm. So for Vertex, the amount is $103,668.25. For Perkins Eastman, it is $111,134.50. And for Brait Builders Corporation, it is $1,838,028.83 for a grand total invoice package of $2,052,831.58. Are there any questions or comments regarding the invoice package? Okay, hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve payment of the invoices in a total amount of $2,052,831.58.
So moved.
Second, sir.
Okay, I have a motion by Bill, second by Mike. We are roll call again. Mike?
Yes, sir.
Jagroot?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So those are approved, 5-0. Susan, I will get that signed cover sheet over to you this evening. Next up, we have approval of changes. Specifically regarding the peer review amendment. Chris Kenny, do you want to speak to this one?
Sure. This in the packet was a proposal from Ty and Bond, who is the third-party reviewer from the planning board. So they reviewed the documents previously. This is now for the construction administration phase to be able to review periodically that the work is consistent with the planning board's requirements. So they'll be visiting the site, I think 20 site visits, and then writing reports to be able to allow the planning board to sign off at the completion of the project, ensuring there are no deficiencies throughout. So, any questions? This is the peer review is a kind of mandated thing for the project team. So we're passing it on from the planning board to this group to get approval so they can be engaged.
And for the the public's benefit on the meeting, it's a not to exceed fee of $21,500
Correct.
for those 20 site visits. Is this so this is obviously listed in the construction changes, but this seems like a fairly expected one. This isn't anything new that's come up.
Correct. It's not in the construction changes necessarily about project construction,
Gotcha.
owner changes, if you will.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have a question, Chris, about what's the scope of these reviews? It's not like, doesn't sound like it's like a QA kind of a review. It's more for the planning board. So what kind of reviews would they be looking at just in general?
So in reading their proposal, they, have time in here for a pre-construction meeting, and then during construction, they'll be reviewing the excavation and roadway construction and prior to backfilling. They'll be reviewing the excavation of the stormwater management basins and soil testing performed by our testing agents, but they'll be observing it. And then observations around the precast concrete installations, concrete and asphalt pavement installations, installation of the retaining wall that's along the south side of the site, drainage system components prior to backfilling, and then utility trench work.
I can add some color to that, Chris, as well.
Please.
Ty and Bond functions as the eyes and ears of the planning board and the town planner. The town planner is responsible for the stormwater permit that we applied for. The conservation agent with the conservation committee serves as the eyes and ears of the conservation committee, but the planning board does not have their own staff to serve that capacity on a project of this scale. So they sub that out, and the design engineer that reviewed as their peer reviewer is an appropriate person to serve as their eyes and ears during construction to ensure that we're meeting the requirements of the stormwater permit across the entire site. Judy from conservation only serves as the areas that relate to the wetlands protection, but the stormwater permit applies to the whole site. So they're the eyes and ears of the planning department or the planning board's regulations and site plan approval and stormwater permit.
And based upon their general observations, they'll keep the town informed on the progress and then endeavor to guard the town against deficiencies. So.
Gregor, did that answer your question?
It does, yeah. So they will be basically looking at the work and trying to see if it meets the storm. It's more of a stormwater permit review.
Yeah, stormwater management and install. They want to make sure that we're complying with the requirements of the stormwater permit and the site plan approval.
Okay, thank you.
In addition to the designers and engineers and the testing agents, they're really focused on protecting the planning board's primary interests in all this.
Understood. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, if there are none, I would seek a motion to approve peer review amendment number 1, the scope of work for Ty and Bond.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, motion by Mike, second by Jagroot. Roll call vote. Mike?
Yes, sir.
Jagroot?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And I am a yes, so it is approved 5-0. Next up, we have a discussion on pending changes around geotechnical on-site observations.
Yes, this is just something we wanted to give a heads up to for this group, that given the amount of visits that were originally budgeted for Perkins Eastman's geotechnical consultant on site, they are thinking they're going to exceed their original amount, so are in the process of quantifying and will be submitting a proposal again for review and approval by this group. But the issue came, they're essentially were hired to observe the excavation for the footings and foundation work that's underway right now, for which they're doing. But we're also pulled in to observe some of the early road work and excavations that were occurring for civil's benefit, to make sure that the subgrade that was prepared was going to be sufficient down the road for the temporary roadway and then the permanent roadway work that has been installed. So that's where some of the hours that exceeded the budget have come from. So we'll be coming back to this group once we have a proposal from Perkins Eastman with their justification and presenting it. But we thought that we would take this opportunity to at least alert the group that this is coming. Order of magnitude, I think their original proposal was around 45,000, 42,000. I'll double check that. And this will be not to exceed, again, at a similar amount, and any unused portion, remains with the town. Chris, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just, I think there's a couple of factors that came into this. We had some struggles getting out of the gate that I think many of you are aware of as we were kicking off the project, and having them available to monitor that we were hitting a sufficient depth with the excavation on, a challenging site made sense at the time. We're also seeing that the way in which the contractor has chosen to approach the foundation makes it challenging to have one person observe everything that's going on. And so at times we've had to bring in a second person, which burns the rate a little bit faster. All of this is within budget. So, in hindsight, it's always clearer to say that, maybe we should have asked for more money at the onset, but it's still within the budget that is allotted for this purpose. And so none of this is concerning. It's just we would have preferred to only ask for this once.
Okay, any questions? Anything additional anybody would want to be brought with this when it comes back for a proposal? Okay, seems like a no. So we can move on to construction updates.
Great, I'll go ahead and share my screen as I did last time and show PowerPoint. Is that being shown? You can see great.
We've got it.
Perfect. The first page that you'll see every month is just this snapshot of the project health, safety schedule, budget, quality are all proceeding as planned. We noted one issue in yellow, and you'll see as the project develops, green, yellow, and red for issues as they come up. The yellow issue really had to do with, as Chris mentioned, the contractor getting out ahead of themselves too early, ahead of the building inspector. And there was some issues around the foundation work that was being put in place ahead of a formal permit or approval or sign off. So we noted here just as something moving forward, we need to make sure that the contractor is following the rules of the building inspector. The good news is we have received authorization to proceed with building areas A and B for the foundation work. So the contractor is proceeding with installing waterproofing and reinforcing steel for concrete placement later this week, which we'll get into later. Just the overall site plan. We talked last week about the roadways being installed temporarily up to about the front of the building on the east side of the site. They still have the loop that's going to go around the backside once they complete their soil exports and excavation for retention ponds. They'll jump back and continue with the roadway work. When we talk about the building, area A is to the south, area C is in the middle, area B is to the north, and then area D, which is the gymnasium, is to the northwest. So it just helps orient you around that. Along the bottom or south end of the site, they have prepped for the retaining wall. There's a precast block retaining wall that's going in there. Those blocks are arriving on site in the next day or two, and that installation will occur. This grade in this southern corner is brought up to about 11 feet above where it is currently. So there's a lot of work and backfilling that'll go on around that part of the site. So every month we'll have something like this just as a way to orient this group towards it. In the future field area is where they've stockpiled their loam and excavated material for reuse. They're close to finishing processing that material, and once it's finished, they will stabilize that pile and with erosion control, and they'll use it later in site developments. There's also a stockpile that you'll see in photographs in this area that's being exported off the site right now and should be done in the next week or two. So just getting into some of the photos, they have cleared and stripped the entire site. Boulders are being separated and quantified for unit pricing. Once we sign off on the unit pricing, they will then be processing this into basically gravel. They'll be breaking up the boulders and crushing it into gravel for reuse. Image to the right is the beginning of the footing foundation work. This is the cistern area underneath the southwest corner of the building is a cistern that's going to be holding water for the fire protection system. So this is the footing for that cistern area. One of two low areas in the building. There's a basement area for the irrigation, the geothermal wells. This is the testing and inspection going on for the subgrade. This is a compaction testing that's been going on for the project. So that continues as they reach excavation depth as a assurance that the subgrade is suitable for the foundations. Image to the right is the prep for the retaining wall base along the south side. So that's all been compacted and tested. This is the loan processing area that's over in the future field area. They are taking the excavated material and processing it out to the loam that'll be used on the project later. Image to the right is just the formwork going in for the footings in area A of the building. Again, you see the two stockpiles of material, the excavated loam material, excavated other material, and then the processing area over here. So most of this material is being exported off-site. And again, another image of the foundation formwork prep that's going on in Area A. These two images, this shows the reinforcing and the formwork for the footings and foundations at Area A. And this is the excavation and sub-base prep in Area B of the building. So that's been completed. And then Area C, which is just to the left of this north in plan, is also being excavated right now and should be done either late this week or early next week. So they've made good progress with this. It'll allow the concrete subcontractor to move quickly from A to B to C, having all this prepped. Any questions on the images? Just going to the progress from this month, the residence at 147 was demolished so that the entrance could be completed. That's been done. The roadway improvement contractor has been awarded, and they've started their notice to proceed and have started with their submittals. As I mentioned from the photos, the loam and boulder stripping has been completed. Temp sediment basins are being excavated and prepared for the project. Temp roadway installation has been completed up to the west face front of the building, and will continue once this other site work is completed. Foundation excavation for areas A, B, and C is complete. Foundation footing formwork has started in Area A and will continue into B. The retaining wall subbase has been prepped for that retaining wall to be installed starting tomorrow or the day after. And then the underground utility structures have been delivered to the site, and that installation will also be occurring. So next month, they'll be continuing the foundation reinforcing installation and concrete placements, underground utility installation for the duct bank that runs from Hayden Row Street all the way back into the site, into the building, as well as the sewer and the water lines. They're out on Hayden Row yesterday, today, tomorrow, and Friday, installing the connection for the sewer connection at Hayden Row Street. So those of you that have been stuck in traffic, that's the reason for that out on Hayden Row, but should be done the next few days. Foundation waterproofing has started. There's a lot of waterproofing that goes in as part of the passive house project. So that's been installed ahead of the reinforcing in the footings. Excess soil exports, a significant amount of material is being taken off site. Fortunately, it's going to a local loam supplier, McIntyre, so a short trip for their trucks, but multiple trips given the amount of soil that's being exported. Installation of the irrigation well is scheduled for next month. The loam stockpile stabilization is also scheduled. Retaining wall installations being scheduled. And then completion of the construction fencing. There's a small area on the north side of the site between our project and the Toll Brothers project, which only has erosion control up. This will be a continuation of the construction fence, so we'll be completely enclosed once that's in. And then the sediment basins and swale installations will continue, and then once they're in place, they'll be stabilized with material. And then the temp roadway will continue around the back east side of the building for the construction. Any questions on progress? Moving on to change order updates. Per our memorandum of understanding, we're getting our first change order approved, and these were on 3 potential change orders, 1, 2, and 3, regarding adding silt fencing and protection around the tree processing area. That was a requirement from the Concom for the invasive species management. And then a third PCO was relocating the school sign that was right at the construction entrance. So they had to relocate that. This was work that was originally scheduled to be part of the roadway improvement project, but we added it to the general contractor buildings scope, and we'll deduct it from their scope. So we needed to get that done so their trucks could enter and exit the site without impeding traffic flow. So that's our first change order, totaling $33,850. From a budget update, really the only change from last month are the 2 expenditures from the architect, taking them up to about 68% of their total contract value with this month's invoice. And similarly for us, we're at about 27% of our total contract value with this month's invoices. And then for the contractor, the construction contract is up to $4,012,230, or roughly 4% of their total contract value at the moment.
Hey, Chris, could I ask a question in regards to how much has the town been reimbursed up to this point from MSBA?
If you bear with me. Let me continue through these slides and we'll go and open up the vendor invoice package, and it's in there spelled out specifically on what.
Yeah.
Do you have that, Chris?
We probably, I don't have it in front of me, but Bill, it's towards the end of the vendor invoice package. There's a summary of reimbursements. It includes ineligible costs to date. And I believe that summary lists what your reimbursements to date are. If it does not, Chris or I can follow up with that number to the committee.
Okay, thank you.
I have it right here. So as I read this, the payout is $4,347,001 through May of 2025. And that's on submitted costs of $9 million, eligible costs of $8.8 million. And their reimbursement amount is the $4.3 million.
Thank you. So that's always on the last page of this document? Ish. I mean, towards the end, obviously.
Towards the end, yes. And
yeah,
then,
it's one of the latter sections of the document where we deal with the reimbursement related. I believe it's ineligible costs or something in the table of contents.
Yep.
I don't have it in front of me, so I can't quote it exactly.
in fairness to you, Bill, it is 181 pages because of the contractor's requisition. So it is a slog to get through, but it's in there, so we can talk about that every month.
One caveat to that I just want to make the committee aware of, and I think, Chris, you were going to cover it in the MSBA update, but we can probably talk about it now while we're on the topic. The project funding agreement that was signed by the town takes you through the end of design. It does not cover the construction. So when you get to this stage where you've selected a contractor, you typically enter into a bid amendment to the project funding agreement, or PFA in MSBA speak. The bid amendment will, among other things, rework the expectations in terms of your maximum total grant based on where your construction costs actually ended up being. In a way, this can look like you're losing money, but in reality, what it's doing is it's identifying that you're not going to spend that money on construction. And since you're not going to spend it on the construction, if you don't spend it, you obviously don't get reimbursed for it. So that information will be coming. It's often a slow process to work through all of that with the MSBA, but we've recently initiated it. So updates to that should be coming in the coming months.
And just as there was a formal project funding agreement sign off, there'll be a formal PFA bid amendment sign off in a similar document. Let me go back and resume. Any other questions regarding the budget or expenditures? And really the last slide I had, we talked about, it was just the third-party review, some of the highlights out of the proposal, which we covered previously. So I can stop sharing there. The other two items on the agenda that were the roadway status. So as I mentioned, that contract has been awarded, that notice to proceed issued. We have a kickoff meeting tomorrow with that contractor. We'll go through their schedule. As it looks, they are in the process of submitting materials for approval, which takes a while, but they will be doing prep work this fall and then, laying low over the winter while they wait for material procurement, and then starting up again in the spring. We will share that schedule once it's finalized with this group, and then keep you informed on a monthly basis. So that's progress there. And then the MSBA, the only other update we had regarding the MSBA, we had a kickoff meeting with them last Wednesday that went well. They just outlined their requirements for both the construction phase and the future closeout phase, to just walk through their module 7 and 8 with us. And then a highlight for us, which we've been doing and will be doing, their change order review process, which they do quarterly. So we'll be taking change orders as they're approved, plugging them into their worksheet and submitting them on a quarterly basis so they can be reviewed and then incorporated into the eligible costs that Chris mentioned earlier. Any questions on any of those updates? The slides that I went through is essentially the same as the dashboard that we submitted in the meeting packet. So if anything went too quickly, you can check back in there, and at any point, let us know if there are questions or you need further information, and we can provide that. All in all, things are well out there. I think, getting started, as Chris mentioned, was a challenge. We have a aggressive contractor that's trying to beat the schedule. We're reminding them daily, if weekly and daily, that they need to make sure that they follow all of the requirements of the project. So we're getting there with them, but they're off and running, as you can see from the images with the foundations. Steel will follow, And that'll be a quick process to get that steel up. They'll be looking for, December, end of December, into the new year to have the steel erection completed.
Okay. So I think that wraps up the agenda. Any other questions or business to which we need to attend?
Just one quick comment, John, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All of the committee members are welcome to come by the site if you're interested in reviewing the progress. We would ask that you schedule it in advance with Chris and or Steve. Steve is on site all the time, but it's always helpful to know you're coming so that we aren't in the middle of something. We do ask that everybody who does visit the site checks in. It's helpful for both records and also for safety. We wouldn't want somebody to be on site and not know you're there and have some kind of incident. So we encourage you all to check in if you choose to visit the site for any reason. But you're welcome to stop by and either Chris, myself, or Steve Devine, who's on site, would be happy to show you the progress.
Okay.
John, is there any thoughts of the next couple of meetings, when they may be?
Bill, we'll get that out shortly after this one. I know we said we were going to talk about that tonight, but we just need to circle back up with Vertex on that. So. Okay.
John,
And then go ahead, Mike.
I have a question for Chris. Chris, what time is the roadway meeting tomorrow?
It's 11 to 12:30, I believe.
I assume it's at your place?
It'll be on, yeah, I'll plan to be in the trailer, so.
All right.
There'll be some participants will be virtual, so if you need to be virtual, it's a hybrid.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, then if there's nothing else, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mike, second by Bill. Roll call vote. Mike,
Yes, sir.
Jagroot,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So we are adjourned at 6:41 p.m. Thank you to HCAM as always, and thank you everyone. Have a good night.